this competition, they've been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 3, the semifinals of our Season 5 Germany tour here at the infamous Sachsenring Circuit, one of our favorites at the JSRA, one that we've participated at on many occasions. And it's nonetheless still one of our favorites, a MotoGP circuit. We are currently in our practice session and we have not a full grid but a grid full enough with 12 drivers here from Switzerland, Jamaica, Trinidad, Australia, Colombia and Canada partaking this evening in the Generation 3 Caribbean Touring Car Championship for Season 5. We will get into the specifics, but in the meantime, we're just riding along here as we have 4 drivers in the 128s. We know one is typically used to doing some sandbagging, and one who made his podium last week, or first official podium here at the JSRA last week, Mr. Roger Keller, who is currently sitting on a provisional pole. Granted, this is only the free practice session, but there goes Mr. Charles of Trinidad immediately. Must be listening in on the stream and just takes that position right away from the Swiss driver. So he is getting in his first few laps here of practice. As I know he did run a little bit late with work, so we'll continue to watch him as that session goes on. But nonetheless, we have 4 drivers in the 128s, 2 that we know are typically some sandbaggers of the highest quality. And then we have new drivers, returning drivers. We have Mr. Dillon back in action, currently sitting in P7. Don't think he got much laps in. He did start off with a 130 and has gotten his time down to a 129.761. But there goes Mr. Charles there, setting 6/10, blistering first sector. Faster than the cars ahead of him. There goes I wouldn't say a blue flag, but just a slow car driver, maybe even just on his outlap or just warming his tires as the session goes on. Mr. Charles are looking like he may have lost a second or a few tenths there, maybe lifted when he came around that corner. And as this is a MotoGP circuit, we do see a lot of turns, and the trail braking is going to be ideal in order to getting a good lap here at the Sachsenring Circuit. So we'll continue to watch that as we go along, but nonetheless we have about 50 minutes remaining, and the drivers, I can hear them in my headphones getting excited. They really seem to be enjoying this track, one that I, as I said earlier, do enjoy myself. As we ride along here with Mr. Rohi Robinson, who did come P2 last week and P1, at the moment is the championship leader for Season 5, my apologies. We do have some updates coming as well, as we do want to throw a little bit of drama in the mix with the new season that is coming, and please stay tuned to our social medias for all updates, because we have a lot in store for the next season, especially our new license system, where we just launched it yesterday, so we're excited for persons to start trying their luck in getting their license to come and represent Jamaica. And not even just Jamaica, the license goes for all persons who are interested in racing at the JSRA, especially in any of our major titles, such as the endurance race that we have coming up in a few weeks. Our first ever 3-hour endurance. We did take it a little bit light, even though the drivers did consider it not that light, because a 3-hour stint is not necessarily easy, but still it will put the drivers at their literally at the peak of their ability, where they will be trying the demanding Le Mans circuit with the LMH and GT3 class. Luckily, we were blessed to get the brilliant mods from our friends over in Germany at AC Friends, so we will be partaking in more events with them. We took part in their 24 hours of Le Mans, and we used their mods, and we love their mods. Granted, we did use the LMP2, which is different than the hypercar that we're using today, but nonetheless, the GT3 cars and the LMH we've only gotten good reception and reviews from, so we're garnering drivers from all over the world at the moment. We have commitments from Argentina, Spain, Panama, Jamaica, Trinidad, Switzerland, Germany, Colombia. We have a few. We have the fan favorite Mr. Estefano Barrera, who is returning for the GT3 class, albeit I did see him practicing this afternoon in the LMH category. So he did say he wanted to do the GT3, but I think even though he has found a very good pace, top 3 pace so far in the LMHs, we will just see in time. But nonetheless, we have about 13 minutes remaining, so I will let you ride along here with Mr. Robinson, Mr. Sandman himself, who, as a matter of fact, I will be racing with tomorrow afternoon in the AC Friends test race. So I am finally getting back into the action, albeit it's not as sincere as I'd love for it to be, but we are supporting our friends over in Germany, and something I'm very excited for, that we'll be partaking in the 6-hour spa in a few weeks with the vintage LMH and GT cars. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted. I believe it's GT1 cars, as a matter of fact, so you know that's even more difficult and fun at the same time. But there goes Mr. Charles, Mikhail Charles, now joining the mix. He apparently saw the action and said, no, I have to join, and I am very excited to see our fellow Trinidadian brethren rejoining us. He did miss round 1 and 2, but happy to see him back, and a very nice grid to come. We even saw a few drivers from our past series. Mr. Alex Jarrett, who unfortunately cannot be making it for this season either. He is overseas doing his work and travel projects, but nonetheless I saw him. We spoke briefly and he did mention that he's on his controller, so nothing special, but you know, he is itching to get back onto the track. So we're looking forward to the next season to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the free practice session as it continues. And ladies and gentlemen, there we see Mr. Charles there setting the, well, second fastest lap of the week, but fastest of this session with a 128.006 is the Trinidadian. The fastest lap so far coming from our resident Miss Max Verstappen, Mr. Jaden Harrison, with a 127.993. So literally about 9 thousandths off of each other, and we can see how fun this race is going to turn out. We're right along board with Mr. Charles there, actually. as he is even right now on a flyout. But there goes the commentator's curse, taking him out and onto the sand, but he clearly has the pace to go faster. We will watch and ride along board with Mr. Charles, somebody again very excited to have with us at the JSRA. It was even brought to my attention this week that he has his own iRacing league, which we will definitely be trying our best to support. And if there are any Jamaicans out there who are looking to get into iRacing, we will have our MX5 Cup starting in only a few weeks, as well as Mr. Charles there with a GT3 league. That sounds very fun and very promising, so we will definitely try our best to support him with his and his community with their endeavors for that season. But nonetheless, excited again to have these drivers back here in action. As we did mention earlier, we are at the iconic Sachsenring Circuit in Sachsenring, Germany. 3.671 kilometer, 2.2 miles, 14 corners, 8 left, 6 right, if that's my maths, if my maths is correct. And the lap record here is a 1 minute 17.7 in the MotoGP circuit. My apologies there, folks, as I had to run to the door quickly to address a client. But nonetheless, yes, we think we were talking about a lap record here being a 1 minute 17 second, which was obviously from MotoGP. This is a MotoGP circuit, but nonetheless, we do love to see our front wheel drive turbo hybrid cars here at the brilliant, again, I think it's the third or fourth time saying Sachsenring Circuit. It is one of the most storied circuits in Germany as well, actually, with a history dating back all the way as far as 1927, originally as a public road, and was transformed into a permanent circuit a year after I was born in 1996. Technical and physically demanding is this track. As it stands, we still only have 4 drivers in the 128s. Mr. Daniel Velez there of Colombia did get a little bit closer. We do have a returning Mr. John Singleton, who is of the AC Karting League, the one who is helping us to develop. And, well, again, he and his counterpart, Mr. Rodrigo, are the two who are managing that project. And, boy, can I tell you, I am so excited for that project to be completed. Looking like most of the drivers here maybe just relaxing a little bit, but there goes Mr. Rohey Robinson, Mr. Sandman himself. I won't say that was intentional for him to go off track and invalidate his lap, but nonetheless, he is definitely at least not out of the mix. He did say he was a little bit hurt last week after round 1 being, well, he was on an island by himself as Mr. Harrison and Dominic Charles literally just took their time and enjoyed their race by themselves. But nonetheless, Rohey came back last week with a dominant force to take P2 and P1 in last week's race and take back that championship lead away from Dominic Charles, who unfortunately did not make it last week, but luckily has made his time here this evening. But nonetheless, what a beautiful track this is, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of our favorite tracks to race at. It's just so flowy. It is very demanding. I think the last last race we did here was the TCR cars back in March. And boy, was that drama with Jamaica and Colombia finding themselves side by side in many, many occasions, to say the least. But nonetheless, that race was absolutely epic, and we are definitely looking forward to more battles here, especially with these cars. And just a brief sneak peek for the next coming season, and it will, well, if you want a preview of it, we do have for our license test our brand new BMW test car, or trainee car, let me say. And boy, can I tell you, it is a absolute brilliant car to drive. The B58 engine in it is just something to behold. You love the sound. It's just powerful, goes when you need it to go, and it handles like a dream. This evening as well, we will just look quickly at the brilliant features of Saschenring, which is very much so renowned for its dramatic elevation changes, which is particularly why we love this track, especially right by the downhill plunge from turn 11 to turn 12, known as waterfall. That section will definitely be testing the drivers and their ability to balance their speed and their control. The technical section, such as the tight corners and short straights, requiring a little bit of rhythm. The first sector is tight and twisty, especially here as we lead up to turn 1. And there was Mr. Keller there setting a purple sector 3, so that's very good to see. But as you can see here, heading into turn 1, very tight and twisty as you lead from 1 into 2, not into 3, coming right around this bend here, and it's just flow corner after corner after corner. You have to be so gentle with your brakes, hold on, and patient. But nonetheless, that is just a part of this this track. The key overtaking opportunities here that we will be looking forward to is especially right by in the braking zones by turn 1 and by turn 12. We will go over a brief driver briefing, track walk, my apologies, but we will definitely be looking forward to seeing what can be done in their strategies. Nonetheless, we are looking forward to the battles. I know we had Kyle Barrett. Yes, there he is in P7 now with a 129.418. So we'll definitely look out to see what he can do this evening. He just got on the servo, so he started with the 132s and now has made his way back down into the 129. So that is pace for around P7. But that fight between P5, well, let's say P6 all the way down should be very enticing for the viewers, and something I per se is definitely looking forward to. Mr. Keller there looking like he's really enjoying the third sector, but just can't get his foot correctly on the other. But we've seen him last week. He will make those moves to stick and possibly even gain that extra position. So he's in the mix for the top 3 right now. Dominic Charles in P1, Rohey Robinson in P2, Roger Keller in P3, and Jaden Harrison in P4. Kimani Eastman now finally putting in a 28 with a 128.933. So now he comes and puts himself in the fold. But as we did say, Dominic Charles is a full almost, well, to his closest competitor is 4/10. The fastest lap of the week so far has been a 127.9 by Jaden Harrison. So we'll continue to watch that battle as that ensues. And as always, we have the resident sandbagger himself. As you can see, his sector 2 typically is in the yellow and about a second off. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that. We did see Dominic Charles as well with a purple sector 1. So we'll continue to watch and monitor. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back and relax and get ready for the qualifying session to come. We have 15 minutes followed by 2 20-minute sprint races. And what a race this is going to be. took that one? What a finish! This is not going to be a drag race. Who took that one? What a finish! This is not going to be a drag race. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Qualifying has just begun. This is the outlap, and Mr. Dominic Charles is the first person on the board to start going. And I'm sure we'll be very excited to get his lap down as quickly as possible in that very well decorated Caribbean touring car Renault. One of the, well, they're all balanced, but definitely one of the fan favorites out there. We've gotten very many reviews on how decorative it is, to say the least. So we will ride along board with him as he goes around for his first official lap. This is the well, as I said, this is the outlap. Seeing that if he can even just warm up those front tires, seems squiggling and swerving as he goes around to the final two sections of this track. Is Mr. Dominic Charles of Trinidad and Tobago as he hits up that, and again you can see the elevation changes here at this circuit. This is a MotoGP circuit as we stated earlier, but as he exits onto the start finish, there he goes. I believe that's Mr. Rohey Robinson in the background, so we'll continue to watch and ride along with them. But nonetheless, Mr. Dominic Charles, ladies and gentlemen. Dominic there looking very quick. Not looking like the fastest yet so far. But as well, at least in sector 2 he looked much better, but sector 1 not so hot. Looking now at the timing sheets, he's about 3/10 down on the car right behind him, Mr. Rohey Robinson. But as he comes around the final bend now, up that slight elevation rise, there he goes. Faster sector 2, faster sector 3 for now, and there goes Mr. Charles with a 128.946. But following right behind him in his slipstream is Mr. Rohey Robinson, who we did state earlier is here for revenge, as he was beaten with a wooden belt with a wooden belt, a leather belt, my apologies. That one will make IG for sure, I can only imagine. But there he goes, now setting the second fastest lap time. Rohey Robinson now is in P1, provisional pole for now. The next driver to watch is Mr. Harrison, who is not setting the lap on fire, but clearly, you know, he likes to leave the laps down until the final stages of the qualifying session, but so far not setting a lap ablaze. Mr. Charles, though, we should ride along with him still, and we'll come back to Mr. Harrison. But Mr. Charles now has set a blisteringly fast sector 1, now in purple sector 1 with a 5/10 up on the car. Behind him is Mr. Rohey Robinson right behind, trying to see if he can keep up, and a 10th, almost 2 up in sector 2. Rohey looks like he might have invalidated on that lap, so we'll continue to watch that. But as it stands, this is looking like a 127 run by Mr. Dominic Charles, and this will set the stage for the qualifying session as we have just begun. 5 minutes have elapsed or about, and there he goes with a 127.613. that is the fastest lap of the week, ladies and gentlemen. But as I speak, Mr. Jaden Harrison is 200 up on Mr. Charles, and I'm hoping that the commentator's curse won't get him too tight. But there he goes, using up not as much of the track as I expected, but using exactly what he needs. He's 2/10 up on his personal best, not looking like he might dismantle that lap from Mr. Charles, because that would have been about 2/10 off of Mr. Charles's fastest lap. So as it stands, he has to put in at least 3/10 quicker in sector 3. He comes around the final bend, and it is a drag race to the finish. It is a 127.934. So there he goes, 3/10 almost off of the Trinidadian Mr. Eastman there in his well-decorated Hyundai Elantra. We were speaking about the Renault, but there he goes with his fastest lap of the week now with a 128.293. I'm sure if he's listening to the commentary box right now, he got his first podium in round 1, and I'm sure is anxiously waiting and trying to get back his second and third and start garnering more and more. So we ride along board with him. As it stands, Dominic Charles is in the pits. Rohey Robinson, I believe, is now on a fast lap. He's now a 10th off of Mr. Harrison in sector 1, so we'll continue to watch his pace as he goes. But Mr. Eastman is now sitting in P3 with a very good time with a 128.29. John Singleton now does put himself in the 128s as well, so it looks a little bit like there's been a little bit of sandbagging by some of these drivers. John just starting practice, we saw what he could do when he was following the likes of Emmanuel and Mr. Rohey Robinson last week, when he was literally just adapting as the race went along. But nonetheless, he is somebody to behold and somebody that we're definitely going to be watching for in this qualifying session. But there he goes, 128.472. Roger Killer hasn't set his, well, he set his fastest lap of the evening, but he has set faster in the previous practice session, so we'll continue to watch him as he's still a threat for the podium. But Kimani Eastman there being the surprise driver so far. 4/10 is his time up on his personal best, so he's only a 10th off of the car ahead, which is Jaden Harrison, my apologies. Will he be able to even put a little bit of extra drama in the mix as he comes around the final few sections and heads now into the, is this the final corner? No, it is not, my apologies. I was looking at the map and not the actual track, but nonetheless, he is 3/10 down. So definitely not enough for him to get out. As it stands, Jaden Harrison and John are in the pits. Kimani there may be saying, all right, I messed it up. It doesn't make sense finishing that lap, and takes his trip down into the pits. Daniel Velez of Colombia now, who is another man who will be a threat for the podium. We'll watch him as he runs along. He is, I believe, on an invalidated lap, so this might be just be his out lap. I will check and let you know in a few moments. But as it stands, he sits in P7 of the field. We'll continue to watch the Colombian as he is one of our greatest friends and one of the very, very quick drivers, typically faster in Assetto Corsa Competizione, but still nonetheless always in the top 5, top 4, top 3 when he does get his chance and time to race with us. We do hear Mr. Ben Sunday has subscribed to us, and we do thank you guys for tuning in on this wonderful Friday. We know you could be doing anything else. We said it in the driver briefing earlier that you guys could be going out, you could be going to church or any party, anything that you want to do, and instead you've decided to spend your time with us, and we do appreciate it. So if you do get the chance, leave a like, leave a subscription, and we do try our best to race every weekend and stream our races. Our full catalog of races is on our Instagram as well at JSRA official. So if you even want to be a part of the racing, we do implore you, send a DM, send a message in the chat. Let's see how we can get you on track. We have a full new license system on board that we're anxious to get running and rolling, but as it stands right now, nobody seems to really be improving. So we'll just ride along now with the man on provisional pole. Jaden Harrison as well has gone out. I believe he's now on his outlap, so we'll watch him to see where he can throw a little extra drama in the mix and maybe take back that pole position away from the Trinidadian Dominic Charles. Unfortunately, it seems Mikhail Charles has also left the server, so sad to say, but nonetheless, I'm sure we'll see him come back eventually. I know he did say he was out all day, so he may just be too tired. But there goes Dominic Charles, only 400ths down on his personal best, so still a relatively quick lap. But no, sector 2 was definitely off the board for a quick lap. But himself and Mr. Jaden Harrison basically matching pace as it stands. So maybe just trying to put a little bit of energy in the tires, get a little warmth, and prepare themselves for their official hot lap as Mr. Dominic Charles is now on the way for his next flying lap. We'll ride along board and see where he can find that extra pace. He's now actually a 10th up on his personal best. And if, while I do say so myself, I did notice Mr. Rohe Robinson, my apologies, 5/10 up on his personal best so far, which would put him a little bit right behind Jaden Harrison, maybe in the 27.9 or 28 lows. So we'll continue to watch him as he goes along. I'll tune in with him sooner than later. So I'm trying to actually find him on the live timing, but not seeing him. But nonetheless, we'll continue to ride along board with Mr. Charles there, who's still about a 10th up on his personal best. Kimani Eastman as well seems like he might be improving, so we'll continue to watch that. But as always, the qualifying always is left to the end of the session, where the drivers just find that extra few tenths and that few energy. Who is that in the Chevrolet Cruze? I believe that might be either Javon Parry or Stéphane Tremblay, who just seems to be getting out of the way for the charging Dominic Charles. I believe that was Javon Parry, as a matter of fact. But there goes Dominic coming around the final corner now to see where he can set. He has to set up blisteringly fast. Sector 3, will he improve? And no, he will not. It seems he had invalidated on the lap behind. Rohe Robinson as well seemingly has invalidated in sector 2, so we'll continue to watch him as he heads around. Again, he's now sitting in P5, typically should be in at least P2, P3, so he's definitely out of position. So he's a man to watch at the moment. Dominic Charles at the moment is 3/10 up on his personal delta, but we'll just ride along with Rohe because we want to see where he will come at the end of this qualifying session. Jaden Harrison as well, about 900ths up on his personal best, so he did not improve as he comes around the final corner. But yeah, as it stands, Rohey Robinson is the man to watch. He won last week's reverse grid with a daring move on Iman Ryan on the final corner on the last lap, left the move until the last moment and said, "Sir, this is my moment to shine. You can enjoy that second place." That second place was even fought as a drag race between himself, Iman Ryan, and Mr. John Singleton, who made his debut here at the JSRA last week. And what a race that was. I am noticing Nicholas Donald disconnecting from the servo, hoping that's not any technical difficulties as a few of the drivers have had in the past few weeks. And there goes Mr. Dominic Charles, who did set a purple sector 1 but lost time in sector 2 and sector 3, looking like he's just backing out of it now. Jaden Harrison did improve to a 127.9, but definitely not enough to take that pole position away from Dominic Charles. Dominic and Jaden now sitting in the pits. I'm guessing they will just be watching and riding along with the drivers, watching both Mr. Rohey Robinson and Roger Keller, who are the closest in the practice session to dethrone them. But Kimani Eastman, what a qualifying lap that must have been, setting himself now in P3, hoping, I'm sure, well, he is still, well, no, he just enters the pits as he could not improve. I saw him coming around the final corner as Nicholas Donald now comes back into the servo. But nonetheless, Rohey Robinson is the last man. We know we've seen him leave it up to the last moment. Will he be the one to dethrone Mr. Charles here? I think he should get an extra lap as he heads now into the final corner and hugs that line. Hug, and use as much of the track on exit as you can. Gets out, and where does that put him? It does not improve him, but he has one more lap. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 ahead of him are sitting in the pits. Roger Keller as well is trying his best, but it doesn't seem like, it seems as if Roger is going to just head back into the pits now because his time was messed up by sector 2. So right now it seems as it is Daniel Velez, Kyle Barrett and Javon Parry and Mr. Rohey Robinson, who are the 4 to watch in this sequence. Rohey is 4/10 up on his personal best, so we'll continue to watch that. But as the commentator's curse goes, you know how that can throw a man off, especially if he's listening to us right now. I'm sure we'll be cussing as he can find, but there it goes, 4/10 up. That looks very tight and very close as well, because you have to stay within the white line. So you can see he is absolutely pushing that car to its limits to see if he can gain at least to get back on the podium step. But as it stands, looking positive, does set a positive sector 2. So as it stands, if he can continue this pace, he will be bringing it home for that P3 position as he comes around the second to last now into the last corner. And will Mr. Robinson, 4/10 up is his time. And that should, and there it goes. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the commentator's curse at its best. I'm sure if he makes it to the podium, we'll get explanation to whatever happened. That almost always happens, unfortunately, with the commentator's curse. But nonetheless, what a qualifying session that was. And if that's anything to go off of, I'm very much so looking forward to what will happen in the next 2 sprint races. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take part in these races, we do implore you, join us. Follow us on Instagram at JSRA Official. Like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and try it. I would love to see more and more persons joining and racing with us here at the JSRA. We have a brilliant endurance race on its way at Le Mans Circuit. I'm seeing the fans in the public saying, "Let's go Charles, let's go Jaden, and go Dominic." So the fans are out, and we're definitely looking forward to the pots and covers as these drivers will be going neck and neck through this evening's race. We've seen Dominic and Jaden, even though Dominic has the pace, if Jaden can get in front of Dominic, we know the defense that Jaden can put on and hold off. So we'll hope and pray for some dramatics, but not too many dramatics, as we know how that can go. We're hoping that we can just get the start off running without any need for any safety car. Ladies and gentlemen, we are only moments away from the sprint race. I am so excited for what's to come. And ladies and gentlemen, as we said earlier, Dominic Charles is currently on pole position in that yellow Renault. Jaden Harrison in P2, Kimani Eastman in P3, John Singleton in P4, Rohir Robinson, the man out of position in P5, Roger Keller in P6, Daniel Velez in P7, Kyle Barrett in P8, Stéphane Tremblay in P9, Nicholas Donald in P10, Javon Parry in P11, and the safety car in P12. However, that safety car will be heading back to the pits as soon as it can, as the drivers get ready to go racing. What a race this is going to be. I cannot wait. We are almost on the way, as the lights are now on the board. 3 lights, there it goes. Dominic Charles is in P1 with an awesome launch there and tries to get away from Mr. Jaden Harrison. Please be reminded, ladies and gentlemen, that you do have hybrid systems. Jaden Harrison, I'm sure, is using as much as he can, but does overshoot the corner slightly, and there goes the switcheroo on Mr. Charles. But right now, Dominic is on the ID line, and you have to be so careful there, as Dominic Charles there goes spinning off. We did see some contact, but I'm not sure if it just threw off the balance of the car or what. But there goes Jaden Harrison and Rohir Robinson being the biggest winner. Dominic Charles there being the biggest unfortunate loser of that early race sequence. But we know Mr. Charles is not somebody to give up and will be fighting through the pack. He's only 2 seconds off of the car ahead. I'm sure will be trying his best to see where he can make up ground and gain back his positions on the cars ahead. It will be a long 20 minutes, but nonetheless, the gap is not that bad. That 2-second gap has already dwindled to under a second to himself and Mr. Javon Parry. So at least we'll get a little bit of entertainment. Unfortunately for him there, but nonetheless, this is the start of lap well, no, not the start of lap 2. This is about the midway point of lap 1. And there goes Mr. Dominic Charles already making a move. Stick on the Jamaican Javon Parry. Roger Kello was in P6 and is now in P9. So we watch and monitor that as that goes along. Nicholas Donald has made up a few places with Stéphane Tremblay, his friend from Canada, right there in his rearview mirror. But again, the gap between Dominic and P1 is still only a mere few seconds. It will be pushing time. Kimani Eastman took back that position away from Rohey Robinson while we're watching the back of the pack, but we'll continue to monitor that because Rohey, I'm sure, will be trying to get past Mr. Eastman as quickly and fairly as possible, but we'll have that Hyundai Elantra in his front view for the foreseeable future, plus the Australian who he did have in his rearview mirror last week in his battle with Iman Rayan. We continue to watch as that battle ensues, but nonetheless, Dominic Charles has already made his way right there onto the rear end of Mr. Roger Kello, the Swiss driver, and now it's just get past as quickly as possible. I'm sure he's hoping and praying that this man, the Swiss driver in front of him, will not slow him down too much and will just let him by as quickly as possible as Mr. Daniel Velez there on Mr. Kyle Barrett in that Toyota Corolla makes the move stick. Kyle did just start practicing for this race and so did Daniel, so this is going to be a fun race to watch, ladies and gentlemen, as the drivers will continue to fight it through. Kyle there seeing if he can just put that extra inch of his car there right on the inside to see if he can make the move stick, but did not. The Colombian Daniel Velez just put in that car where he needed to put it to make sure that he would be fine for the foreseeable future. Dominic Charles now in the slipstream of Mr. Roger Kello in front of him. Will ride along here and see what he does. Does move to the inside, and will he have enough time? Maybe not enough. And there goes Roger Kello into the rear end of Stéphane Tremblay. Dominic Charles getting out of the drama as quickly as possible. Unfortunate for them there, but does move out quickly to get back on the way. And I think that's Nicholas Donald I saw in the grass. Please no contact as the two go side by side now. And there seemed to be maybe slight touching, but there goes Mr. Dominic Charles now into P7. 3 seconds is the gap between himself and the car ahead, Mr. Kyle Barrett. We watch and ride along board. We'll watch that gap as it may close because the two ahead of him are fighting, which may just bring him right back into the fold and the mix for the next few minutes. Only 4 minutes has elapsed basically, and we have another lap at the end of the time depending on where the race leader finishes, so we will definitely be looking forward to what's to come in the next few stages of this race. Ladies and gentlemen, Rohey Robinson is now only 5/10 off of Kimani Eastman, who's holding his own. I'm not even going to call his name again for the rest of the race because we know what happens when I do. But nonetheless, there goes Jaden Harrison with a 128.5, and there's Kimani Eastman only 2/10 off of him, and 2/10 matching pace with the race leader is Rohey Robinson. I'm sure Rohey is just being as strategic as he can possibly be as he is trying to gain back that P2 position. Started out of position in P5, now all the way up into P3. What a dramatic start it was, but nonetheless, there he is chasing down that Hyundai Elantra, and we saw him being as patient as he could possibly be last week. We'll watch him to see what he can do this week as he has the hunt down for Mr. Eastman ahead of him. We are missing out on that battle between Dominic Charles and Jaden Harrison that we were yearning for. We saw the 2 minutes of glory between them in turn 1 to 2 to 3, and then that's when the car just went into the grass and had to make his way back up from P11 now into P7. So we'll watch and see where he can come along. But there goes Kimani Eastman going very wide and just opening the door for his fellow teammate Mr. Rohey Robinson. These two are, well, the top 3 are all admins here at the JSRA, so this is the first time I can actually say that. That's an absolutely brilliant graphic, and we'll be taking a screenshot when we get the chance. But there goes Rohey Robinson going extremely wide and giving Mr. Eastman back the opportunity to just close back that gap and see if he can catch back up to the Jamaican in front of him. While that is being said, however, Dominic Charles has closed that 3-second gap to Cal Barrett. No, only a second, setting the fastest lap of the server at a 127.972. The fastest before was a 128.2, I believe, set by Jaden Harrison on I think lap 1 or lap, no, not lap 1, lap 2 or lap 3. But Kimani Eastman will continue to watch his gap as he goes down. But Dominic Charles now under a second behind the Jamaican Cal Barrett. I'm sure he'll be trying to get by him as quickly and make his way up to the next target, Mr. Daniel Velez. We know Dominic has the pace, we know he has the patience. Now it's just to get through the field and hope that he has enough time to capture the places ahead that he so rightfully earned and deserves. But there he is, hunting down the one of my favorite Mitsubishi Lancers, and can still see P5 and P4 right there in the very near future, as well as P3 and P2. And there is Mr. Eastman taking back that position from the Jamaican and hugging that inside line. There is Mr. Kimani Eastman in P2. Rohe now does have the better line here coming in, so will they make contact? It might not, as the two go side by side, as we did state, but they head now into the final corner, and this is just giving Jaden Harrison all the time to get away. In that time we did miss out on the overtake on Mr. Barrett, but nonetheless 7 tenths, 5 tenths, 4 tenths is the gap between Dominic Charles and John Singleton. Right ahead of him, the Australian and the Colombian, so P4 is right there for the picking for Mr. Dominic Charles. 8 minutes has elapsed and we'll continue to ride along here, but the battles are just keeping him right there in contention. So give him the battles and then give him the pace, and he will find himself right there on the rear end of your either Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota Corolla or Mitsubishi Lancer. What a race this has been, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see you in the chat. What are you saying? We said the whole them Kimani as the fans are out and about. 9 tenths is the gap between Kimani and Rohe Robinson. This is absolutely epic and something that we really enjoy every week. We have a new update coming, but there is Dominic Charles now sitting in the slipstream of the Australian, maybe trying to see if he can force a mistake as they head down now. Just trying to stick, maybe pokes a little eye on a face and a nose and says, sir, go defensive so I can do a quick switcheroo on you. Tries to carry as much speed through and heads down now. This is the waterfall section and you want to be on the inside part, but there is John just closing out the gap to the Trinidadian, but the two exit that corner. The Australian did get the better run coming out. The inside line going down waterfall is where you want to be, but again, Dominic just being the Dominic just being the patient driver, very strategic in his moves. I'm seeing that I need to take a breath because yes, this is typical nowadays, as a matter of fact, because these drivers just put on an absolute spectacle of racing for us. And as a matter of fact, we are always looking for a commentator or commentary partner. So please feel free, if you feel sorry for me over here, just send a message in the chat or in the DMs, and we will definitely bring you on board. We'd love your takes as well on what you're seeing. But nonetheless, there goes Dominic Charles there. 2 tenths is the gap between himself and John Singleton, and the two will be fighting it out for the foreseeable future. We saw John last week being extremely defensive. It was a brilliant battle by him, Iman and Rohe Robinson, so we know he has the pace to defend, and he does learn and adapt very quickly. So who will come out victorious? This is just pulling the gap between Dominic and the top three, but nonetheless, Jaden Harrison has just pulled out that gap to about 7.5 seconds as they head down waterfall now side by side. Who will be the king of the late braking? As that looks like Dominic may have gotten the move stuck as he heads down now into the final corner, and that move, as brilliant as it was, puts Mr. Dominic Charles in P5 and away from the Australian, and is now on the hunt for the Colombian Daniel Velez, only 8 tenths. But John has not given up that battle as yet. I'm sure even if he loses out to Dominic, he will be trying his best to keep up with Daniel to see if he can snatch back that P5 away from Daniel Velez here this evening. What a race this has been. There goes Dominic again, just putting his face where he needs to be to just throw the driver ahead off his back. And there he goes, extremely wide was Daniel Velez. Dominic looks like he had to back off slightly, but nonetheless, the two head down now, down waterfall, and will be fighting it out, heading into the final section of this track as they head into Sector 3. And this would put Dominic into P4, and the podium is still very much so up for grabs because he can see Mr. Eastman right there in front, really not that far ahead. So Mr. Eastman, I'm sure at the moment, might have had a little incident there. I'm not sure why he fell off, but no, 1.2 seconds is the gap between himself and Mr. Roher Robinson sitting in P2. But ladies and gentlemen, I would love this opportunity to mention that we do have some of these drivers who are participating this evening, will be participating in the 3-hour endurance that we have coming up in only a few weeks. And what a spectacle that will be. We have drivers from Panama, Spain, Argentina, Trinidad and Tobago, with Mr. Dominic Charles there, Jamaica, obviously, with Mr. Harrison, Mr. Robinson, Eastman, and Donald and Tremblay. Roger Keller from Switzerland will also be joining us for that battle, and I am so excited for it. This battle, however, is just giving Mr. Eastman that much time to get away from the likes of Mr. Dominic Charles, who is still very much so on the hunt and trying to just force a mistake with Mr. Daniel Velez, the Colombian, who again will be participating in that 3-hour endurance. But nonetheless, the driver from Noble Racing, lead driver from Noble Racing, is holding his own here this evening in that Toyota Corolla. And I'm sure is not he might be enjoying the racing, but this might be a little bit too stressful because he did not even really plan to participate this evening. So now to have the hounding Trinidadian on his rear view will definitely stress him out. But nonetheless, we know Daniel can be very defensive and good with his defense as the two go side by side and goes very wide again now. Will that be the move stopped by Dominic Charles? I believe and the two are still at it side by side, but Dominic does have the ID line here. And is that a switcheroo attempt? And it was, but nonetheless carried a little bit more speed, enough speed to get away, and that looks like move done. But that also puts Mr. John Singleton right there back in the picking. I'm sure that's what he was waiting for. Is now only 4/10 off of the Colombian ahead of him, and I'm sure there goes Mr. Dominic Charles. Already went defensive to just see and make sure he can maintain that position, as he will now be on the hunt for Mr. Kimani Eastman and Rohe Robinson. P3 and P2 are still very much so up for grabs. 5 minutes remaining. There's nobody ahead, but there's still a charging Colombian right there in the rear view of his brilliant Renault Caribbean touring car race car. There was a lock up there, so that 3-second gap has closed very quickly. Now 1.8 seconds is the gap between himself and the Jamaican in front of him. The final podium position, and I'm sure Mr. Eastman will be definitely trying to, or begging me right now to keep his name out of my mouth, so we will try our best. But 4 minutes remaining. Can Kimani hold off the charging Trinidadian? He's put on a spectacle this evening. Both the Jamaican Jamaican and the Trinidadian driver, Kimani Eastman, making it all the way up into P2, fought for his life to maintain that one, but unfortunately could not hold suit for P3. For P2, my apologies, but is very much so in P3 now. The gap between himself and Dominic is now down to 8 tenths. We've been riding along board with him for the majority of this race. We'll take a quick look briefly at Mr. Tremblay, who is in the slipstream of Mr. Donald, and we'll watch and monitor that if there's a battle to come. But nonetheless, we'll just stick and ride along board with these drivers here. There's battles all throughout the track, and there is Mr. Childs there, 4 tenths off of Mr. Kimani Eastman. He fell all the way to the back and is now fighting for the podium. In the slipstream, Kimani immediately going defensive. What will happen? Come on, Kimani goes Nicholas Penley, and there he goes, just throwing that extra drama to throw the driver ahead. But Kimani looking like he's keeping his head on the shoulder. He might have been like, yo, what are you doing? And you know, that extra thought could have just made him miss his braking point here or there. You can see the tactics by the drivers, but there goes 3 minutes remaining plus 1 lap. This will be the longest 3 minutes of Kimani Eastman's life, and what a battle this is going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the gap between the two as Mr. Charles is literally just pushing the driver ahead of him in and through the corners. There they go, trying to go side by side. Will try and take back that inside line here, coming out to the corner, and does he know? Good run out by Kimani Eastman, definitely holding his own here this evening. One of our most improved, got his first podium in round 1 and has said, sir, I want more. That has been the story of Mr. Kimani Eastman, as there he goes, going very defensive, trying to close out Mr. Charles there as much as he can. But there they go. This is going to be a drag race into turn 1. Oh, sorry, turn 12, my apologies, the final. Turn 14, the final corner, and it will be a drag race now to head down into turn 1. But guess what? Now Kimani is being or is under threat by the Colombian, who now just snatches back that position and takes P4. So 2 positions in less than a lap. And a few corners, so unfortunate there for Kimani Eastman, but I'm sure he will not be giving that one up too quickly, as he's only 3 tenths off of the Colombian. If he can't get the podium position, he will at least be fighting for the best of the rest here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Kimani, what a battle that was. He put on an effort of, as Mr. Penley says, Jamaican Minister of Defense, an absolute pick throw at trying to see if he can gain or keep and maintain that position. But nonetheless, 3.1 seconds is the gap between Dominic Charles, so everybody held Dominic off as long as they could. It's a minute left. We'll never say never, but with this being said, you never know if that if the driver ahead may just put a foot wrong, touch the grass, touch the dirt, and the likes of charging Dominic Charles will just make his way right there onto the rear end of that car. But that gap as it stands is maintained at about 3 seconds, even 3.5 seconds there. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that as Rohey Robinson there goes with a 129.2, Dominic Charles with a 128.403. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 20 seconds remaining plus 1 lap, so let's say about 2 laps remaining, but nonetheless we have a second sprint race, 20 minutes reverse grid. So Dominic Charles unfortunately had to fight back from last, now is in P3. We'll have to do that right there again, as that gap just dwindled between 3 seconds to 2.4. So we were watching and monitor that. We didn't know what had happened, but nonetheless, Kimani Eastman now under threat by the Australian for P6. Not sure if he's dejected, if his spirit has been broken slightly, or maybe the commentator's curse. But nonetheless, if anything happens, ladies and gentlemen, we will stick to the story to just blame Chad, who is unfortunately not even here for this race. But nonetheless, we will just stick to the story and just blame Mr. Chad Dillon himself, as he is our resident guinea pig. And the 20 minutes has elapsed as Jaden Harrison comes across the start finish line to start his final lap. This will be the last lap of the race. Kyle Barrett there, you do get 5 cut warnings, so he has used up each of his and has gotten a drive through that he has to take before the end of this race. So what unfortunate for him there, he did look like he was very much so comfortable in front of the car behind him. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that. But he may just be promoting both Mr. Donald and Stéphane Tremblay into P7. But there he goes, taking his drive through. And that looks like he has enough time as Mr. Donald comes around the start-finish stretch. The final corner, my apologies, and Kyle Barrett now coming out to head back on, so he will have a slight battle and somebody to look forward to in his rear view as Nicholas Donald now sees him in the front end of his car. And we have John Singleton now hunting down Kimani Eastman still, and will be trying his best. I see you in the chats that if Dominic had one more lap, he would have gotten back P2. But hey, let's not say never, because I mean it is the final lap, but that 3-second gap has dropped to 1.2, so the pressure might just be on the Jamaican in front of him. So you never know. But what a race that was! But nonetheless, Mr. Jaden Harrison in P1 to take that victory. There is Mr. Dominic Charles there in the rear end of Mr. Rohair Robinson. Mr. Rohair Robinson had a lot of big chat to what we said that he's going to make back his way up into the top podium. Started P5, finishes P2, and what a drive that was by Mr. Dominic Charles, finishing now in P3. And now we'll have a full-on reverse grid. So Dominic Charles had to start from P1, fell back to P11, and had to find his way right back there into P3 for the final podium position. Daniel Velez of Colombia in P4. Kimani Eastman, the Jamaican, who, what a start of the race that was, put on some defense as best as he could, but could not hold off the charging Dominic Charles, and finishes off in P5. John Singleton made his debut last week, finished in P3 was it? Last week after a valiant P4, my apologies, P3, right? After a valiant effort. Kyle Barrett now in his second race had a drive-through penalty. He did start practicing late, but did show some pace, so that was fun to watch. Nicholas Donald in P8. His friend from Canada, Mr. Stéphane Tremblay, our friend now as a matter of fact, in P9. Roger Keller in P10. And Javon Parry, who looks like he may be in the pits, to finish off in P11. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fight that was. Hats off to the drivers. We do have a reverse grid starting in only a moment's time as the drivers head now down to the end of the pit entry, and they will be taking a brief picture with the leader in the middle. This is not what should be should be done, but nonetheless, I'm sure they'll get it eventually. And there it goes. The race winner, Mr. Jaden Harrison in P1. In P1, Rohair Robinson there to the left in that Hyundai Elantra in P2, and Mr. Dominic Charles, who I think, and I'd love a vote in the chat for driver of the day, but I'm guessing at the moment the votes would be going towards 1 Mr. Dominic Charles and 2 Mr. Kimani Eastman. But we do have a reverse grid, so it has not been set as yet, ladies and gentlemen. We will enjoy a brief break while the drivers get a little bit of water, use the restroom quickly, but we are looking forward to the battle to come, and another 20-minute sprint race by these drivers. What a battle that was. I cannot wait for the next staging of this evening's race. You have and ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the reverse grid. You still have about a minute to go and get some more water, take a little breath. I am using this moment. I just spoke briefly with the drivers, but we use this moment to just take a quick break. But nonetheless, as it stands, we'll have Javon Parry in P1. Roger Keller in P2, Stéphane Tremblay in P3, Nicholas Donald in P4, Kyle Barrett in P5, John Singleton in P6, Kimani Eastman in P7, Daniel Velez in P8, Dominic Charles in P9, Rohir Robinson in P10, and to fill out the grid is Mr. Jaden Harrison in P11. And it seems we have a late entrant, Mr. DeVille Park, who will be starting very far behind. But we've seen him in the past make some very fun moves. But good luck to all the drivers we see in the chat. Good luck was said before between themselves, and the respect was given to each other. What a brilliant battle that was. But now we have 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5, and now 6. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the beginning of the second race, and there they go. We'll start from the middle of the pack as the drivers are now on the way. As they head down now into turn 1, it seems Roger Keller was the one to gain the quickest position, and that, ladies and gentlemen, will definitely be a safety car, a safety car, a safety car. So the leader will be dropping his speed to 50. And the pack will be trying to catch back up as quickly as possible. Nicholas Donald there is at the moment the biggest loser of the pack. Unfortunate there. I think it was in the call of the safety car. Right, so Nicholas should be making his way through the pack because it seemed like it was the safety call of the safety car that messed him up. We'll have the race leader bringing the speed back up to 80. The only person that should be overtaken at this moment should be Nicholas Donald to take back his position. And we will be starting back on the start of the next lap. So we do implore the drivers to keep their tires warm. They'll maintain the 80 kilometers per hour. And at the start finish line, once the race leader passes the line, he's entitled to go full blast and get away as quickly as possible. And I typically do call out for the drivers green light, green light, green light once it's time to go racing. But nonetheless, what a dramatic start to this race so far. We have Mr. Charles now in P5, Daniel Velez in P4, Rohir Robinson and Jaden Harrison are in P8 and P10. So we'll watch to see what happens there for them two to see if they can catch back up. But Dominic Charles definitely tried his best to gain back as much position as possible to get out of the pack and the drama in the early stages of this race. But as Mr. Roger Keller, the Swiss driver, comes around into the final corner, he will start going as soon as he passes the finish line, and we will get racing in only a moment's time. And it's green light, green light, green light, and the drivers are off and ready to go, and the action has started already as Kyle Barrett has made the move stuck and tried to close the gap there on Nicholas Donald there. Definitely takes a move and the position away from the Jamaican driver. Now behind him, Nicholas now has the Colombian and Trinidadian to worry about in these stages of the race. So now we have 17 minutes remaining, and the Colombian will definitely be one trying to keep the Trinidadian behind him, but two will be trying to make that move stick as quickly as possible, and maybe even use Mr. Donald as a buffer for the car behind. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that. Rohir Robinson has made up 2 positions and is now in P6. So we'll continue to watch that as he is making his way downtown, walking fast, and he will be homebound soon. But nonetheless, 4/10 is a gap between himself, and he is now on the rear end of Dominic Charles, and I'm sure we'll be trying to either get in front of him as quickly as possible and maybe throw a little bit of drama. But there goes Daniel there, almost looking like a bump draft, taking Mr. Donald there out of contention. So there is Mr. Donald in P3, and there goes Daniel, and that is looks like another safety car. And that's a safety car, So unfortunately for the leader, he will have to be dropping his speed again down to 50, and that is Kyle Barrett now in P1, Kimani Eastman in P2. And it's just incident after incident, unfortunately, as well. We are already past the start finish line, so we will be going for another lap under safety car conditions until we reach to the next lap. And ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the racing, and a little bit of confusion there on the start, but there is Kyle Barrett now in P1. Kimani Eastman now was on the podium originally, fell back to P5, now back on the podium with the Swiss driver. He did find himself fighting with him last week, but guess what? Mr. Harrison has found himself through the drama and made his way back up from P9 all the way up to P4. Dominic Charles again, unfortunately, will have to be fighting his way through from the back of the pack. At least he doesn't have too many drivers to be working with, as he has the Australian right in front of him, and I'm sure will be trying his best to see if he can get back. So this is 3 reverse grids in a row for him, basically, as he has been fighting to try and catch back up to the top few ahead of him. But there goes Jaden Harrison into the final podium position now, taking that away from his countryman Mr. Kimani Eastman. Roger Keller as well did make the move stick on the Hyundai Elantra of Kimani Eastman, but nonetheless we continue to watch as that battle continues. Jaden Harrison is on the hunt and does seemingly tries to get the run there on Roger Keller. Roger immediately going defensive, so Jaden will have to try the long way around. Is that double moving? Was that? Yes, that was a very poor move there. Unfortunately, that puts everybody back into contention for that top step that we saw live from Roger Keller. Not what we like to see here, and I'm sure we'll be getting complaints in the steward's room, but nonetheless, at least it wasn't too dramatic. No safety car has been called, and is that Roger just letting him through, maybe seeing yes, maybe that was not the best moment for myself, and just lets him through, but now has the likes of Daville Park, Kimani Eastman, Stéphane Tremblay right there in the rear view to force a little bit of extra drama there. Dominic Charles, unfortunate there. Looks like he may have lost out at some part where we were focusing on these drivers ahead, but with 11 minutes remaining, we'll watch and see how he comes on board for the duration of this race. And there goes Kimani Eastman, definitely getting a better run there on Daville Park. And it's him and Stéphane Tremblay who gets an extremely good run now heading down into turn 1. And that is Daville Park, who we know will send a dramatic dive. And there goes Kimani just making the corner. But between P4 all the way down to P7, P8, P9 is only separated by a few mere tenths. So we'll continue to watch this as Dominic Charles has made his way right back onto or into the mix of the drivers. And these drivers are literally separated by I would say at this point mere thousandths of a second, as they're literally just pushing each other. This is what you'd call in Formula 1 a DRS train, but maybe this is just a slipstream train at this point, as the drivers are just one by one, all unrelenting. As it seems Mr. Harrison there has taken the lead away from Kyle Barrett into that corner. We did miss it, my apologies, but nonetheless this battle is where we want to see Daville Park there, see if he can force a mistake. Dominic Charles there, ooh, and there's a slight contact between himself and Daville Park. I saw somebody that was at Stéphane Tremblay in the rear view in the dirt. So this does look like a little bit of fatigue for the Trinidadian driver, who has had to fight his way up time after time after time. Roger Keller now in P3 will be trying his best to see where he can finish, but right now he has a charging Hyundai Elantra right there on the rear view with Kimani Eastman, trying to see if he can gain back that podium position that he so rightfully feels like he deserves. But as he has messaged me personally to keep his name out of my mouth, so I will try my best. But nonetheless, the gap between P3 all the way down to P6 is only a few mere tenths, maybe even just separated by a second. That is Rohey Robinson hounding the rear end of that Toyota Corolla in the Colombian, as the two that would almost look like there was contact, but nonetheless the two come out unscathed, and they will continue their battles. 8 minutes remaining, ladies and gentlemen. What an evening of racing this has been. We've had drama, we've had overtaking, we've had persons fall all the way back to last and fight their way through. we'll continue to watch because the evening is not over and we know the dramatics will continue as there's only 8 minutes remaining. And there was that Mr. Velez? No, that was Kimani Eastman there, seeing if he could make a move there on Roger Kello as the two get a better run. Kimani Eastman there as a 3 head now into turn 1. That looks like Kyle and Danny and Roger Kello making a little bit of contact, and Kimani Eastman there late on the brakes, uses the trail braking as much as he can, and Roger Kello there being the biggest loser, falling back all the way down now into P5. But Kimani Eastman and Kyle Barrett now fighting it out for P2 as the two are separated by a mere tenths coming through that tight twisty section of Sector 1. Kimani Eastman does look like he's holding his own, but so is Kyle Barrett, and the two are fighting, leaving room for the Colombian there in the Toyota Corolla. We saw it in the last race where the Colombian just saw the fights ahead and just took his opportunity, and so said, so done. Daniel Velez now taking P3, Kimani Eastman now in P2. We'll have the charging Colombian with 6.5 minutes remaining. We'll be putting on that Minister of Defense, showing that we saw in the first race for the next 6.5 minutes plus 1 lap. We'll continue to watch and monitor that. That was Roger Kello looking very drifty in the rear view, but there is Mr. Daniel Velez now heading down into Waterfall. Side by side there go, and he is on the ideal line, but can Kimani Eastman hold out? It does look like it's going to be a drag race if it stands like this, heading down now into the final turn now into the turn 1. Kimani will try to get the best run that he can get and then hold that inside line. You do have ERS, you have the use of the curse feature, and I'm guessing that was used definitely by Mr. Velez in front of him as the gap was just extended more and more and more. And there was a little bit of contact there between Kyle and I think that was Roger Kello. Boy, the stewards will have their selves cut out this evening for the battles ahead, and that has gone on. The gap between Jaden Harrison and Daniel has also closed as well to 0.5 of a second. So the P1 is still very much up so for grabs as the Colombian now puts the car on the inside there of the Honda Civic driven by Jaden Harrison and now takes P1 from the Jamaican. And now Jaden Harrison will have a battle between 5 minutes remaining of this race. What a dramatic twist to this race. I'm going to ask, maybe Jaden finding some technical difficulties, but nonetheless we'll have the racers now on board. Kimani Eastman chasing down the Jamaican. Was this a tactic by the Jamaican? No, Jaden Harrison just literally opened the door for Kimani Eastman. So what I'm assuming at this point is a little bit of maybe equipment malfunction. I will not say anything more because I have no idea, but I'm sure we'll ask him in the commentator's booth. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison now sitting in P3, Kimani Eastman in P2. And Daniel Velez of Colombia now sitting on pole position in P1. Kimani Eastman, will he go for his first win this evening? He has the pace. He did start in P3, and I'm sure will be trying his best to see where he can finish. And P2 is just, I think he finished P3. He does not want to just move up one, but why not just be greedy? Take P1 away. He has the pace for it. He has the time to do it, and he has the support of his fellow countrymen behind. I'm assuming we've seen in the past do a little bit of bump drafting, so who knows, maybe that will be the concept of tonight's race. But nonetheless, Kimani Eastman will be on the hunt for his first victory here this evening at the Sachsenring Circuit. I said it earlier, this is one of our favorite tracks to race at, and this is why the drama just never stops, it never ends. And there is Kimani Eastman. Jaden Harrison looking extremely wide there and just putting that card to see where he can make his move in the dying stages of this race. It is 3 minutes remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Put your bets in. Who will take victory? Who will take P2? Who will take P3? The podium is still very much so up for grabs, and what a battle this has been throughout this evening. Jaden Harrison there with a very good run there on Kimani Eastman. Was I correct? Is that going to be a little bit of bump drafting? No, he can't reach and just uses a slipstream. So no, my expectations of teammate driving just goes through the door as Jaden Harrison takes a long way around and makes that move stick on Kimani Eastman to take P3, give back P3 and take P2 from the Jamaican. He has 2.5 minutes now to hunt the Colombian ahead of him and will be definitely pushing to see where he can make up the time and catch back up to the car ahead. Dominic Charles now does make the move stick on Roger Keller. So I'm happy to see he's made his way to at least P5, but we'll definitely have about let's say about 3 laps to get back to the car ahead, and 2 seconds is the gap between himself and the car ahead is Mr. Rohey Robinson. So Dominic Charles will be on the hunt there. We watch and monitor this gap as it goes on, but nonetheless, what an evening of racing this has been, ladies and gentlemen. What a battle between the top 3. And what a battle that was for Dominic Charles. We continue to watch him because that 2-second gap has now dropped to only 1.2 seconds. And keep in mind, oh, my apologies, I was looking at the wrong person, but that gap is now between Rohey and Kimani Eastman. So will that battle even help Mr. Dominic Charles to get back into the fold and get some drama mixed into the final stages of this race? Mr. Chad Dillon has denoted this the desperation zone, and we'll watch as the gap between P1 and P2 has now close to 0.5 of a second. So we'll continue to watch that. 2 seconds is the gap between Dominic Charles and Rohey Robinson, and I'm sure he will be trying his best to see where he can come and finish off this evening. But the gap is now under a second between Rohey and Kimani Eastman there for the final podium position. Kimani looking in the rearview mirror, I'm sure, to say no, I missed out on the podium in the last race. There goes Rohey very wide, and that will give Kimani Eastman that extra few tenths to just breathe a little bit more. But nonetheless, 36 seconds to be exact, if they could just finish the timer. But as it stands, it looks like we will be getting 2 more laps of racing, so 1 more after this and then 1 more after that. It just depends on when the leader, my apologies, passes the start finish line. It's now 10 seconds there, so if they back off slightly, then Kimani Eastman will have only 1 lap to defend for 3, 2, 1, and that is it. So we will have 1 more lap of racing. Kimani Eastman has 1 lap of defending, and we've seen him in the past hold off Mr. Charles as best as he could. And will he try his best to hold off? There goes Jaden Harrison with a late dive to see if he could go around the outside, but there he is excuse me, trying to hold off, and he's just putting that car to take that position away. But as it stands, Daniel is in ideal position, and it's very much so warranted to hold his line there this evening. So there goes Jaden Harrison, does make the move stick and takes back P1 away from the Colombian driver. I'm sure not, well, it won't just be as easy as that. There will be a fight till the finish, but Kimani Eastman, this is the final lap, ladies and gentlemen, and this is his 2nd podium position if all goes wrong. Right, my apologies. And on top of that, the Jamaican has a Trinidadian driver right there in the rear view, still looking and seeing if he can maybe pounce on anything that's to come. So he can't even fully focus on offense. Now he has to focus on defense at the same time, as Mr. Dominic Charles has closed that gap to 0.5 of a second as they head down Waterfall, and he will be looking to see if he can make that move stick and even get that extra position, extra point. These two will be fighting it out for the final championship standings. It's been a long day for Mr. Charles, but nonetheless, we'll take a look back at them in a moment's time as Mr. Jaden Harrison comes around the finish line to finish off in P2. Kimani Eastman to top off in P3. Rohey Robinson in P4. Dominic Charles in P5. Roger Keller in P6. Kyle Barrett comes around in P7. Safin Tremblay in P8. And John Singleton in P9, Davil Park in P10, Javon Parry in P11, and unfortunate for Mr. Donald, was taken out there in the early stages and just had to retire. I'm not sure if it was due to damages, but as it stands, what a race that was. Kimani Eastman there finishing off very well now to get his second podium. We'll ask him to have an interview briefly in a moment's time. But ladies and gentlemen, what a battle that was. We will have interviews in a moment's time. And Jaden Harrison taking P1, Daniel Velez in P2, and Kimani Eastman in P3. And ladies and gentlemen, we have for the second time in the commentary booth, Mr. Kimani Eastman, after being denoted the minister or the Jamaican Minister of Defense this evening, putting on a World of Defense against Mr. Dominic Childs there, and then coming on to finish in P3. We'll talk quickly about the first race. Could you, well, you would love your insights to how that battle was, and you know, what was going through your head with the charging Mr. Charles there in the rear view of your Hyundai Elantra.
Good night. Happy to be here a second time.
We'll get to that in a moment's time, and don't worry.
Yeah, so I went into the quali. Well, never really expect to get the third,
right?
But I found the pace, so I just held on. And then on the race, this first race now, I tried my best as I could to hold on to that third place, but you know, faster guy like Rohe. So I eventually lost it, and then Daniel. All right, so down to the last bit now because of the accident with Dominic. I saw him charging in my mirror. I started sweating. So I defended as best I could for like the 2 laps or so.
3 laps,
so
I think, yeah. And it was a valiant effort. I mean, you even got some votes in the chat between yourself and Dominic Charles for driver of the day, and well deserved in my opinion.
Yeah, it just sad that I made Daniel pass as well. But he found the button. He found the boost juice.
He found the boost juice. So taking P3 in that second race, I mean, you found yourself up into P2. You're battling there with, I think, who was it? Was it Rohe?
I think it was Rohe. Then Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after the whole incident at the start, I was behind Kyle, but I keep on making mistake and just take time, fall back. Yeah, so I end up fall back into the pack. But I fought my way back up to second, yeah. But Daniel just appeared.
Yep. He did it in the first race, and he came back for the second race to just
vengeance.
Yes, sir. But nonetheless, brethren, again, you got votes for driver of the day. epic battle between yourself and, to cap off the evening with a podium finish. Congratulations. And again, even that qualifying was absolutely epic. I did not expect it. 'Cause I know you didn't do any laps for practice.
Well, yeah, well, I did a few.
Okay. But nonetheless, man, congrats. And
All
I'm
right.
sure we'll see you next week back on the podium
Yep.
for the final round. But yes, as you said earlier, I'll keep your name out of my mouth as much as I can. But if you put in on performances like this, I can't make any promises. I'm sorry. And
Just just when you're on me, talk about the next driver. Right?
all right, brother, we'll talk soon.
All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Kimani Eastman, the first driver who was considered for driver of the day. But the next man himself, the Trinidadian driver, the sharpshooter, who I think got the most of the votes this evening, Mr. Dominic Charles. Can you hear me?
Hello.
I can imagine you really don't want to wait on this interview. You must want to go in your bed and go sleep.
Nah, I still have more practice to do after this for that endurance coming up. I see some fast guys in there.
Nice, and I know you have your Colombian rival, who was testing the LMHs earlier, Mr. Estefano Barrero, doing some
Yeah,
laps.
scary stuff, man.
Well, we were mentioning that earlier, and I'm definitely looking forward to that endurance. I'm very excited to see you there on board in your Calypso Racing livery. But definitely, we just want to talk briefly. I mean, you had an incident from our point of view. We don't know if it was hit, and I'm sure we'll do some reviewing in turn 2, I believe. Around the twisty section in sector 1, and you had to end up fighting your way back from last place up to P3. But you can just walk us through your thoughts on that beginning stages of that race, and then we'll get to round 2 after.
Yeah, honestly, that was partly my fault. Not because of the hit, but because I put myself in that situation. Because I completely forgot that they have the hybrid system. So I didn't use it during quali or like the first half of the race, and I kept wondering, well, why can't I pass these guys? Because I'm catching them on the exit, and then they're just pulling away from me. So when I did figure it out, I think I was about to pass Daniel, and then he just pulled like a 10th on me. I was like, wait, I have something here. So I just tried to put down the pace, and that was really fun coming back from last in the first one. The second one, though, my God, I don't know what went on there, but I just got taken out over and over, and it was so much that I didn't even have tire attempts until the last 2 laps. Like,
oh, no.
I was just trying to recover, but I kind of got my way at the end because I set 27.6, so I went a 10 faster than quali on basically dead tires. So
right.
I was pretty happy with that.
Man, it was an epic drive. I mean, I had to literally hold the side of my cheek because my braces were just cutting my mouth with the amount of action that you especially you in particular, sir, that you ensued tonight. But nonetheless, I always say it, bro. I'm always appreciative when you come in. It's always epic to have you. But what a battle that was. Congrats on, I mean, to finish off in P3, you are so patient and strategic in your moves. We saw you just throw a little dummy to see if you can make the person ahead of you go a little bit deeper on their brakes, and then you just make the move stick. So nonetheless, man, congratulations. And it's always a pleasure to watch you in action, man.
Thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Definitely, man. So hopefully we'll see you. I really hope, as always, but nonetheless, we know how your time goes. So regardless, thank you so much for joining, bro.
All right, thanks. Take
Definitely. Care. And ladies and gentlemen, that was your drive of the day contestee, Mr. Dominic Charles. They're finishing in P3 in the first race and P5 in the second race. We'll have Mr. Velez now, Daniel Velez of Colombia, Nova Racing, one of the leader over at Nova Racing, and one of my closest friends. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Firstly, what a battle that was in the first race to even look at what was happening between Kimani and Dominic, and just using that as your opportunity to just make Kimani's night a little bit worse twice in race 1 and race 2. But could you walk us through your experience this evening?
Yeah, well, thank you one more time. Thank you for those beautiful words to me. Really appreciate it.
Every time,
It's
brother.
same for you. One more time, thank you for having me. This tonight was great. Tonight, I have a big smile on my face. It was so much fun. You know, I didn't have a lot of hope because I didn't understand like the force feedback at the beginning. I do not really understand what the car was going to do. So like finishing where I finished on the first race for me was a total, mystery. To be able to understand the car at the end, and so funny to forget like that I have the curse for half of the race at least. So yeah, for the second race I had a lot of hope. Right when I see all of the crashes on the first turn and I was able to save it, I say to myself, okay, this is it. I think that I have the possibility to win. And then, yeah, sadly that hit. I know that I was a lot slower compared to all. I think everyone on that turn. I never understood how to take that turn, and there was the really really hard hit that it sent me to. I think all last to one. It was Roger and I back in the last
Right.
places,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then going up and going up. You know, I didn't like realize that I was so in front just when I saw Kimani, and Jesus, what position am I? And it was really really fun. I was really concentrated fighting with with Roger Keller. I hit him quite a bit on a turn because I saw him going a bit wide, and I said I'm going to take it. I saw the gap, but he came back right to it. I don't know if I was entitled to that space right when he came back, and we touched. I'm sorry, Roger Culler, if that that was. I don't know if it was good or not. I will need to watch the replay,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then I know that Jaden lift off. Yeah, that was too obvious. He wanted to fight, but and it was an awesome fight. And then I finally understood how to use the curse, because I thought that you could use it all of the plays without no problem, but
No.
it seems that you only have certain amount to use per
Per
lap.
lap. Right.
And yeah, right when Jaden was all in my back, I run out of
Oh no.
curse. Yeah, and that was he was able to put the car side to side, and then the battle
That was
side
epic.
to side.
That was absolutely epic. That was absolutely epic.
Yeah, that was totally awesome. Since he was going a lot faster due to I missing the curse on that lap, I push and keep pushing the curse, and we both weren't really really wide on that first turn, but we held it together. That was awesome. That was really
clean.
awesome.
And I will say quickly, that is the environment that we do try and build here, the clean but hard racing. We know that mistakes will happen and bumping is racing, but it's never intentional. But you can watch back at the replay. Again, I couldn't be as excitable as I would have loved to be because of the hoarseness of my voice, but nonetheless, that was an epic battle between you two, Daniel. And as I always say, brother, it's always a pleasure to watch you guys in action. Always a pleasure to have you here with us, and I'm definitely looking forward to you guys in the endurance race to come at the end of this month. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'm going to race. The only thing that I can tell you right now is that this race was a fresh shower for me. This
Nice.
race was awesome. Thank you,
Nice.
thank you so much for holding this.
And always, bro, thank you for joining. That was an epic showing from you, and I'm looking forward. Hopefully, I remember you missed round 1 and round 2, so that's why all of these things are so new to you. But nonetheless, I'm glad you finally got to test this new Generation 3 of the Caribbean touring cars, and definitely hope to see you in the final round if you can make it. But as we always say, there's no pressure. If you can make it, that would be amazing. If not, we understand. But nonetheless, brother, thank you for joining and have a great evening.
Thank you, guys. Same for you. Take care.
Bless you. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Daniel Velez of Nova Racing. We now have Rohir Robinson finished was it P? I think it was P10. I'm joking. It was P2 in the first race, right behind Mr. Jaden Harrison, or a few seconds off of Mr. Harrison. Rohir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
How
What's
are
up?
you? How are you? How was your race this evening?
A little bit disappointed in the second race. First
Mm-hmm.
race was okay. So feeling content.
Feeling content. I know at the
Yeah.
ending stages of the second race, you did have a charging Trinidadian in your rear view mirror. It was a very dramatic or drama-filled race, if I do say so myself, and I'm sure the steers are going to have a very long evening and Saturday ahead of themselves. But nonetheless, that was still an epic race from my point of view here. Could you give us your thoughts on the, well, don't know if I want to hear your,
Race
your
one.
thoughts on the second race, actually. But no,
Race
please.
one, race one.
Yes, let's hear race one. Because you started in
So
P5, my apologies, I should have mentioned,
yeah,
and made your way all the way through to P2 by, I think, lap one, the midpoint of
yeah.
lap one. So, yeah, can you walk us through that debacle for the other
Um,
drivers?
I think I'm not sure if it was race one, but I overtook like 3 cars on the outside
Right.
of T1. So that move gave me the position that I needed to hunt down P2 in order to pass. But I was a bit disappointed with the qualifying results because I could have probably taken P2 from Jaden,
Mm-hmm.
but
And this is where we want clarity. What happened on the
yeah,
final corner?
I have no idea. It all unraveled on the first turn actually. I was going to do a flying lap because I knew previous laps I had the pace. 2 laps I had the pace to do 27 high 27s, but I messed up one of the corners, so I decided to go for a final run, lower the fuel, do a final run once my tires were warm, and I messed it up on T1. So I got P5 and I decided, all right, podium is the aim, and so said, so done. So I'm really happy about that.
And again,
Um,
congrats to you there taking P2, because that first lap was absolutely epic. I mean, you literally snatched it away from your fellow countryman and team member, Mr. Kimani Eastman. I mean, it was a screenshot that we took quickly with the top 3 admins from the JSRA in the top 3. So that was an epic sight. But sorry, you're saying something. I just had to say that quickly.
no, I was going to continue to the race too, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, please go ahead.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was race one was good, I think,
Yeah.
except the qualifying, but race one was good in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any incidents, only Dominica, I think,
Right.
which is in the
Right.
position as well. So when I saw him spinning out, then I made sure to brake a little early and let him spin by himself, so I don't.
Get caught up in the drama.
Yeah. So that was a good move.
Nice.
For race two, um, I think race two started out pretty decent, but something happened down the back straight, down the hill,
By
and I
waterfall.
completely, because of the incidents in front, dodging cars and everything, I completely missed my braking point.
Oh no.
Yeah, I hope that wasn't on the stream, but Daniel Velez, I'm really sorry. Um, I'm glad though that he raced his way up to P1
Definitely.
and he could have gotten back a high position. So I'm glad about that.
Definitely.
Uh, but yeah, mistake on my part and do better next time. But yeah, I'm okay with P4. I think I had the pace for P2 and 3, but I needed more time.
You needed, right. You needed at least one extra lap. But we'll,
And good defense from
and as
Dominic because
about to say,
sorry,
I was about to say, because with the closing stages, he closed that gap to, I think I saw 5/10 of a second. So
Yeah,
we did mention that you were thinking in offense for Kimani, but I know immediately had to switch up to, have that extra thought of defense in the
yeah,
closing
yeah.
stages. So, it could be a blessing, it could have been a curse. You never know.
Yeah, I think I tried to save as much battery energy as possible just to mount a final defense if needed. So I was just trying to keep my cool, just trying to not make any mistakes, and the tires were dead. So
I can imagine, man, with the amount of scrubbing that you guys did tonight, I am definitely not surprised. But nonetheless, finishing off in P2 and then I think it was P4? Yes,
yeah,
P4.
before.
I even saw you there on the trying to get a quick picture in the podium box, but Kimani definitely took his position back in the podium position. But congrats again, brother, and that was an epic drive from you guys. I definitely will say I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I mean, this goes to show that, if we do get the numbers, this could be a really fun series. Like people just
Absolutely,
come out, just show up
absolutely.
for the races, and you will definitely enjoy yourself.
And that's just a quick reminder that if you do want to participate in the races, we've plugged it in several times, but you can still join us and DM us at JSRA Official if you want to participate, if you want to help me out in commentary, if you want to be a part of the community and just talk to us. We implore all persons to come in and join us. We are a full-fledged community. We believe in building each other up. We are close, hard, fast competitors, and we do believe in a hard racing community. So, nonetheless, thank you so much, Rohe. It was an absolute pleasure. And I will
Yeah.
let the fans go as we have the final interview for the evening. We have Mr. Jaden Harrison there taking P1 in the first race. He had that quick battle with Dominic Charles in the first three corners and then had nobody else for the rest of the race. And then in the second race, had built up about a 6-second gap, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to guess, we guessed it was equipment failure, but Daniel Velez does or did say otherwise. We can hear it from the mouth himself. Mr. Jaden Harrison, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harrison, Mr. Jaden Verstappen of the JSRA. You can just walk us through the first few moments of the first race, and then we'd love to hear about that final. Well, we want to hear about the battle with Daniel Velez, but we want clarity to what happened. Why did that gap drop? Were you bored or was it equipment failure? The floor is yours.
Oh, yes. Well, I had a lead and they were fighting behind. So I had clean air and the race was kind of getting a bit boring. So I just dropped back to third and then get some good racing. Because you can't practice for the race weekend and the weekend reach and you don't get no racing. So
Fair
I have
enough.
to do that. You never win here for the fun
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Friday.
And nonetheless, at the end of the day, that battle between you and Daniel was absolutely epic in my point of view. As did even Daniel say, it was just so much fun to watch. I can only imagine how much fun it was to actually be a part of as the two of you went side by side into turn 1, 2, then 3, and the fight just did not end. Daniel did say he ran out to the curves or the hybrid, but nonetheless, you can just walk us through what your thoughts on that battle was. How much fun did you have being one of the partners in that battle?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. We were both on dead tires. The tires were in the kind of like laid back range.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that section too wide, I never expected it to go so well. But we just held our lines and kept the space and put the curves at the right time, the hybrid at the right time, and we're going to get a clean move. And after the battle, I was scared that he had hybrid because I had to be using up the hybrid in the early stage to get the first. So I had none when we were battling. So
And he said he ran out trying to keep you out of his rear view as well. So it looks like both of you just fought that one on merit. But nonetheless, that was an epic battle and conclusion to round 3 at Saschenring. We said it in the early stages that this is one of our favorite tracks to watch and race at. And you guys literally just proved everything for us this evening. The only thing we missed out on was that battle between you and Dominic for P1. I know that was going to be good, and it was just disappointing to see the drama unfold on his end. But nonetheless, he seems like he wants redemption in the final round next week. So we look forward to that. We even have the resident Mr. Tim Stahl, who is currently in Nürburgring, actually with Tom Yagor and Senna Sommerbell. So it's sim racing, bringing real life racers together at the same time. But nonetheless, we are looking forward to him joining next week for the finale. And we do hope that we'll see each and every one of you. I think, Jaden, you will not be here next week, will you?
No.
No. Right.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we won't be having you for the first time in JSRA history. But nonetheless, man, it was an epic showing of your talent and skill this evening, and always a blessing to have you here on board with us. Any final thoughts as we lead up? I think the next time we'll see you is the endurance race at the end of the month, August 31st, the 3 Hour of Le Mans. Any thoughts on what's to come with that?
I'll be at the back. Yeah.
Mr. Sandman himself, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. This track very fun, MotoGP track, very big corners, high speed. They do a lot of sliding and stuff. It was very fun. We need to do it again.
And I'm sure we will. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. P1 in race 1, P1 in race 2, and I'm sure we'll see him back on the podium sooner than later, as I think he get kind of comfortable in this position nowadays. So again, have an awesome night, Jaden, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
Definitely. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings our stream to a conclusion. If you liked what you saw, please, we ask you to like and subscribe when you get a chance, and just tick the little notification bar and join us every week, every Friday, for our Caribbean Touring Car Championship. We have the finale to the German Tour next week at Hockenheimring, and it's going to be a different format, and we have an announcement for the next season where we will be implementing a rear-wheel drive platform to our league. So we are looking forward to that. It's been in development. It's our new trainee car, and we look forward to seeing more and more persons join us. I've been your host. I hope I didn't bore you too much with my commentary, but this was an absolutely epic showcase of talent tonight. We see AC Karting in the chats. We know it wasn't anything intentional, John, but nonetheless, we're appreciative that you could make it. Sorry we had you in the commentary booth last week. Sorry that we couldn't have you this week, but nonetheless, I'm sure it will not have been your last time there. Ladies and gentlemen, please check them out, as well as they are the developers of the Palisados track that we have out here, the FIA regulated track, go-karting track that they have been helping on developing in the time that we've met, and very excited to have them on board, very excited to be a part of their journey as well, even when we will be having the global karting championship, where we'll be visiting with them tracks all throughout the world. So if you want to take part in that, they have an awesome mod, the best karting mod in my very honest opinion, and very good and genuine people nonetheless. I've been your host, definitely not with the most, but will definitely be continuing for the time being. I bid you an awesome good night, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are, and we will see you very soon next week for Hockenheimring, for the finale of our Caribbean Touring Cars. Have a great evening, morning, or afternoon. We are coming up to, as
man, so
there is a run.
outside. Oh yeah.
Ooh, he tried the switcheroo.
Yeah.
You came to fail the test.
best, you met the best, expected chess, but got monopoly. I came and bought you out, I knocked you out, I cropped you out with no apologies. I am the hope, the heart, the faith, the spark, the one who will fulfill the prophecy. I just been counting, never lounging, climbing up mountains, bouncing back. Step in the ring, about you step back. They'll learn hot when I get on the track. I like it louder the most. Watching all these shit just buy down to the goat. If I can't decide, I'ma probably get both. We didn't celebrate, but right now I'm a toast. Resurrected
Here is Eastman going side by side with Jaden Harrison. Jaden Harrison took him on the inside, but Eastman says no and closes the door. But here he is now about to lose 2 positions heading into the penultimate corner. Now coming through the final corner, can Moss get past Eastman as well?